Welcome to Self-Care from the Inside Out for Moms. I'm your host, Carrie McFarland, a certified life coach and founder of Moms Love Coaching. I help moms put themselves first to stop burnout. If you're a mom who is exhausted from carrying the load of getting it all done, then you are officially invited to join the conversation every week. It's the perfect time to take a break, grab your coffee, and focus on the most important person in your life, you. Welcome, everybody, to Moms Love Coaching, self-care for moms to stop overwhelm and burnout and reclaim your life. It's another week. I have done not very much for myself this week.
What, you mean in terms of our topic?
Yeah, in terms of, right. So today we're talking about that self-care is not a to-do list. And this is why I wanted to talk about it, because you know, you have so many things that you need to get done during the week. If you have family, you have jobs, you have errands, you have pets, you have extended family. The list of things that you need to get done just gets longer and longer and longer. And then you just sort of, the things that you need and want to do for yourself, like take a walk or read a book or just chill by yourself, watch a show. Doing those things just kind of gets lower and lower and lower and lower. And so I've found myself doing that this week, that my list of things to do has gotten very big and the list of things for myself has gotten very small. I've been trying to balance it more, but this week has been, it's been tough. You just got off of vacation, so you're probably really feeling it after being on vacation and then coming back and having to do all these things, right?
Right. And I think it's last year at this time of year, I didn't really take care of myself in the best way that I should have. And I think it would have made it September and October go a little bit better had I been more mindful of it in August. But I came back from vacation and went right to a retreat. So I wasn't like I was back in the office until Friday. And there's nothing like being busy or having work demanding for you to just like self-care goes right out the window. It's fighting that thing inside of you that says it's okay not to do this thing. And if you know that it's the thing that helps you to feel better. So that's been my struggle.
My goal is to balance self-care with all the other things that I need to do. And what I'm realizing and really what this podcast is about and all the coaching that we do is really about moving away from the shoulds in self-care and moving away from the list of things that you need to do in terms of, I don't know about you, but this is what I used to do, is I used to make a list of all the things that I should do. Like I should eat healthier. I shouldn't eat a lot of carbs. I should go for a walk for at least a half an hour a day. I should go to bed early. I should do this. I should do that. And for me, when I do that, it ends up feeling more like a chore than self-care. It feels, like I'm nagging my own self, it's like I'm parenting my own self. Right. And so then what do you do when somebody tells you what to do? Especially me. I'm like, I don't want to do that. You can't make me do that. We both have a
little bit of rebel inside of us. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that because I know I should do that. And it's so easy to frame it that way and just to take a break and say to yourself, whoa, I want to do this, or I get to do this. I get to go for a walk. So that is the thing to remind yourself of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The get to, I want to, like to, so much better than I need to, or I have to, or I should. And I think that moving away from the shoulds and turning your own self-care and just incorporating it into your day, incorporating it into your life, and not having it be something that is required. You don't want it to be required of you. You want it to just be part of what you do, part of who you are, just part of your day, like sleeping or, eating, brushing your teeth and things like those are the things that you don't think about. You just do them no matter what. And so moving away from self-care as a to-do list and turning it more into an integral part of your day, it's just part of what you do. It's like breathing, right? It's just part of what you do. You do things for yourself because you value yourself and you prioritize yourself, and you don't even think about that. You just do it. And that's where I want people to get to. That's the ultimate goal. In the podcast last week, I talked about Dan Sullivan. For those of you who have heard of him or who might not have heard of him, he's a strategic coach. And one of the things that he teaches is that your goal is your horizon. And so it guides your thinking, it guides your feelings, it guides your action. So it fits in very well with the model that we always talk about that says, you have a thought and then you have a feeling about that thought and then you take action based on how you're feeling. And so if you're thinking that your own self-care is a chore or a to-do list, then you're going to feel resentful and resistant and negative, and the actions that you take are not going to get you closer to integrating self-care into your day. But if you have the thought that I want to do these things, then you have a more positive emotion about it. And so the actions that you take are more likely to get you closer to the goal of just having self-care be part of your day, part of your life, instead of this separate entity, this separate list that you have that you can get to maybe if you do all this other stuff. And so that's where I want people to get to.
I feel like that idea that it's something that I do, like go back to when you had babies at home, right? You fed them, you changed their diapers, you played with them, you provided them with a safe place to crawl around, like when they got to that stage. You didn't think, I want to do this. You didn't think about, oh, I should do this. You just did it. You didn't question. You did it because that was what you do. So what if self-care was just what you do? And maybe you don't even want to call it self-care. It's like, I just know that first thing in the morning, I walk or I journal or I make myself a cup of coffee and I sit on the porch and I listen to the birds. Like, what is it that you do it simply because that is the little thing that gives you joy, gives you peace, gives you time to appreciate just being who you are.
Yeah.
You think about if that's how it was and you didn't have to think about it. Calling it a habit is also another danger zone because it always feels like something you have to do and check off the list. I think the point of our talk today is really about not treating it like it's something you check off a list. Oh, good, I did that. Like, like so many things you buy in a grocery store. Like, oh, I got the apples. I did my 6 push-ups. Did my, I did my 5 minutes of meditation.
Yeah, because doing the things that bring you joy and doing the things that you would consider self-care, which will be different for everybody, is important. But I think that the most important part of that is to have that mindset that it is just something that you do. So for example, when you said that you get up and you journal or you sit on the porch with your coffee, or maybe you go for a walk, that not only do you just do that, but you're making a choice for yourself, because I'm sure when you get up, there's a million things that need to be done. There's probably like dishes or laundry or maybe you have to go grocery shopping, right? There's all these
Yeah.
things that you could very easily put in front of yourself, but you don't, because you are having that mindset that you first, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
doing your things first because they're important. But it's even a little bit more than that, because it's not even really a conscious thought. It's just like you get up and you do that, and you don't do anything else until those things are done. And I know that different seasons of life brings different things. So if you're waking up because the baby's crying, then you're not going to go sit on the porch and have a cup of coffee. I get that.
Unless somebody else
So,
is taking care of the
unless
crying
somebody
baby.
else can do that. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is having that thought in your head that you are first, you are important. The things that you want shouldn't be put on the back burner. And how can you structure your life so you can put those things that you want to do first? Most of the time, nothing is 100%, but most of the time, you know? So, for example, I have a morning routine of stretches that I do. Now, I started this routine, and if you go back in the podcast, we talk about this, but I started this routine because I had a back injury and I needed to stretch in order just to be able to function during the day. If I didn't do that in the morning, then I wouldn't be able to function during the day. So that's how that started. It did start with a physical need that I needed to do it, but I had little kids. I had babies waking up crying that I would need to tend to. And so my thought was, how do I structure my life so I can get this done, so that I can then do the things that I need to do and also take care of myself? And so my solution at that time was to make sure I went to bed early and got up early so I could do that first thing, so I could feel my best during the day and be able to do what I needed to do. Now, not everybody would choose that. Some people would choose, they would structure their life differently in order to get those things in. So how you do it isn't really important. It's the thought that I can structure my day so I can put myself first during this time of the day or for this many times per week. If you have never done something like that, if you always put everybody else's needs ahead of your own, then the thought of putting yourself first is probably, it probably brings up thoughts like that's selfish, or I could never do that, or maybe I don't want to do that, because that's just kind of your default thinking. Just if it's something that you are interested in doing, I want to take an hour a week or 30 minutes a week to be able to go to a painting class or go for a walk or read a book or whatever it is, then just start small and just ask yourself the question, how can I structure that section of time so I am able to put myself first? Because even just asking that question is starting the process of your brain thinking about how you can put yourself first. It's basically an awareness exercise. And as soon as you put awareness on anything, it sheds light on it. And then your brain starts to get to work on, how can I do that? How can I structure my day, my time, this hour, whatever it is, so I can do the things that I would like to do for myself, and just see what you come up with. And that answer can change and it can morph. You come up with something, maybe it doesn't work so well, so you come up with something else, right? It is a process, but just going through that exercise is in and of itself you putting yourself first.
I think really focusing on how you want to feel could help guide you with that work, because like you said, depending on the season that you're in, you might have more physical time than uh, than others. As your kids get older and their needs change, you may find that you have more time. Maybe you have more time. Maybe you can go for an hour walk a couple days a week versus just squeezing in a 10-minute walk. in the morning before the day gets started. So I think it's only limited by your creativity and thinking about how I want to feel. One of the things that I I discovered recently was that getting into this mindset as I am going to be the woman who lives this way, when that version of myself is so far in the future, so different from the way that I am acting and the things that I am doing now. So in my mind, the way it works in my mind is it just overwhelms me. And then I'm like, well, I can't be that version of that person. So I'm just going to stop and stop trying.
Yeah.
Like maybe
Right.
today, what can I do? Asking yourself grounded in today, or even the night before, you say, okay, I'm going to get up and that's 10 minutes of exercise or stretches or sit and write in my journal or read a book for 10 minutes, whatever it is. That is my commitment to myself. And that's what I do. Tomorrow I can do that. You're declaring your space and time and making it happen.
Right. I like what you said about how does it make you feel? That's a good place to start. Like, how do you want to feel? How do you feel now? How do you want to feel? And how do you get to that feeling? What do you need to think in order to generate that feeling? And then once you feel that way, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to maintain that feeling and get the result that you want? So I think that that's a good place to start. And also the all or nothing thinking. I think that is a big part of it because we're sort of conditioned to, it is either all or nothing. You either do all the things, and if you don't do all the things, then you're not successful. So if you can't do all the things, then why even bother? I know I thought like that for a long time. It's taken me years to step back from that and say, okay, well, I didn't do something yesterday, or I didn't take care of myself in the way that I wanted to this week. And instead of saying, well, that I guess it's just, I can't do it. It's not going to work for me. Instead of doing that, I think, okay, so maybe that was too much. Maybe I need to start smaller. Maybe I need to start where I am. Let's start over and start doing it like that, because it's more about how you're thinking about it than it is about the actions that you take. The actions that you take could be anything in terms of self-care, but it's the way that you're thinking about that. If you are open and curious, okay, I tried to do it this way last week or yesterday or today, and it didn't work the way that I wanted it to. Why? Why didn't it work the way that I wanted it to? What could I do? What could I put in place? What kind of support might I need in order to make that happen the way that I want it to happen? And just keep tweaking it and working at it and seeing what works and seeing what fits. So if I go back to the story about doing my stretches in the morning, so when that started, my kids were little and I would get up very early to do it. Full disclosure, I was still in the mindset that I was doing it more for them than for me, but at least I was building the habit of doing it. But now, fast forward 12, 13 years later, it is part of my routine. And I have set up my morning in order to be able to do that. So I have my husband do certain things in the morning that I used to take on because I used to try to do everything, like school lunches and getting the kids up and things like that. I used to do all those things and try to get my stretches in and try to get ready for work in the morning and try to do and I was doing everything. I finally pulled that back and said, you know what? I don't need to do everything. I need this much time in the morning to do my stretches and to get ready for the day, and then I will take her to school. And so that's how I structured my day. But it was a process, and it took me thinking about it and really learning to put myself first in terms of that, which is hard to do, especially for moms. It's hard for us to put ourselves first because we're so used to putting everybody else first. And I guess that's the phrase that I want people to remember out of this podcast is you first. You go first, at least for maybe one thing a week. You go first just to start and build from there, and just keep building up that muscle of your own capacity to be able to prioritize yourself so you can practice self-care for yourself, whatever that might be.
I like this idea of you first, and I'm sure we can make it into some sort of handout. One of the things we're trying to get away from in this particular episode is the idea that it's something that you have to put a lot of effort into making happen. And I think that might be true first. And once you get into that mode of, this is just my time, this is what I have to do to be my best self, it's a game changer.
Yeah, it is a game changer. It is about building up that muscle, feeling like it's okay to prioritize yourself. It's not even about prioritizing yourself at first. It's about feeling like it's okay to do that. It's shedding the idea that you are being selfish if you put yourself first, and really embracing the idea that there is no selfish. There is just you taking care of yourself and also taking care of the people that you want to take care of. And it's not even about obligation or should or anything like that. It's about giving yourself the freedom to take care of yourself in the way that you want to, and also take care of other people in the way that you want to take care of them. And in my opinion, you can't do one without the other. You can't take care of people the way that you want to unless you take care of yourself the way that you want to. And that's why this idea of you first, I think, is so important. As moms, we do want to take care of our families, especially our children. And we cannot do that in the way that we want to unless we are putting ourselves first, so we can do that the way that we want to. That is the message that I'm really trying to get out there, and that is something that I feel very strongly about.
And it feels like many women don't even think about it, right? They don't think about it, but they feel maybe resentful. Maybe they feel overwhelmed all the time. Maybe they feel sad or depressed, like they're not showing up with their family members or at work or wherever in the way that they want to, and they like something is. And I think focusing on how you want to feel and creating, establishing those boundaries, like I'm going to do this because when I feel this way, I can see that I'm more patient with my children and with my spouse. I am more creative at work. I have more, I'm not falling asleep at 5 p.m. I'm not falling asleep while the kids are in the tub. I'm not eating junk food until I go to bed at night or getting up in the middle of the night. So like there's so many positive aspects to really listening to yourself and listening to your body and honoring that part of yourself that those needs are not there because they're frivolous. They're there because they're important and they're necessary.
That's right. The things that you want are a guide to what you need in your life. Mm-hmm. And tell me if you agree with this, because you don't have the mindset that you are important enough to prioritize yourself, then it doesn't matter where you are in the season of your life in terms of if you have little kids or middle kids or big kids or grown kids. If you don't believe that you are worthy enough to put yourself first and prioritize yourself and do the things that you want to do, it doesn't matter if your house is full of little kids or if your house is empty because your kids are grown at college or married or whatever. You still won't do the things that fill you up. You still won't prioritize yourself. You'll do things by yourself if your house isn't filled with kids, but you won't necessarily do the things that are prioritizing yourself. So when I say that, I mean, how many times do you get a day to yourself for whatever reason? The kids are at grandma's, or, you decide to stay home from work and the kids are at school and your husband's at work, right? For whatever reason, you have a day to yourself, and the end of the day comes and you're like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything for myself. I just either,
Yeah.
did chores all day, or I did chores for part of the time, and then I just sat and scrolled on my phone, or, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
no matter what season you're in or what the situation is, if you don't have the mindset of prioritizing yourself, you just won't do it. And so you first matters no matter where you are in your life, no matter what season you are in your life.
And I do believe that how you live your life during one season is going to, like, how you think about yourself and your time, unless you intentionally reflecting and defining what you want, you'll just keep doing that. The way you think about yourself and your time doesn't change unless you are intentionally changing it.
Yeah,
it's not going to change.
That's the word I was thinking too. Intentional.
Yeah.
Being intentional. Being aware of what it is that you want and being intentional about moving towards that, and then being intentional about maintaining that. And it all centers around you prioritizing yourself. If you don't prioritize yourself, then you'll never reach the goal of taking care of yourself in the best way possible at the highest level.
And I think the point is that it doesn't matter if you are a mom with young children, a mom with school-age children or teenagers or adults. And it also is encouraging that you can do this and you can be intentional at any point in your life. And then when you start it, you'll be like, why didn't I think about this before? Don't spend too much time there, because it's really not serving you. Be thinking about, I want to feel this way now, and I am going to, today, this is what I'm going to do to put myself first, and so that I can live my best life, be the best version of myself today.
The best time to start putting yourself first is always right now. That's what we have for you this week. You first, prioritize yourself, do the things that make you feel good, figure out what feeling you want to generate with the things that you do for yourself, and move towards that goal. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. This makes it easier for everyone to find us and helps us spread our message about self-care from the inside out. Have a wonderful week, and remember, making yourself the priority is the highest form of self-care.